In a packed Atlanta courtroom on a sweltering August morning in 2025, a routine hearing took an extraordinary turn when a judge's flippant remark to a black defendant sparked a moment that left everyone speechless. Marcus Thompson, a 42-year-old linguist and community advocate, stood before Judge William Hargrove, facing a minor traffic violation. What began as a simple case escalated into a confrontation that exposed biases, challenged assumptions, and showcased the power of intellect and composure under pressure. Marcus Thompson was no stranger to overcoming obstacles. A first-generation college graduate, he had built a career as a freelance translator, fluent in 6 languages, including Spanish, French, Mandarin, Arabic, Swahili, and Portuguese. He was also a mentor to youth in his East Atlanta neighborhood, where he ran a nonprofit teaching language skills to underprivileged kids. On August 3rd, 2025, Marcus found himself in Fulton County Superior Court, contesting a ticket for an alleged rolling stop at a stop sign. He was confident the citation was unwarranted, as he had dashcam footage proving he'd come to a complete stop. But what unfolded in the courtroom would have little to do with the traffic violation. Judge Hargrove, a veteran jurist known for his no-nonsense demeanor, presided over the busy docket that day. The courtroom was filled with defendants, attorneys, and court staff, the air thick with the hum of routine proceedings. Marcus, dressed in a crisp navy suit, stood at the defendant's table, his posture calm but alert. He had represented himself in minor legal matters before and was prepared to present his case clearly and concisely. The judge called Marcus's case, and he stepped forward, ready to explain the situation. "Your Honor," Marcus began, "I'm here to contest this traffic citation. I have video evidence from my dashcam showing I made a complete stop at the intersection in question." Hargrove barely glanced up from his paperwork. "A dashcam, huh?" he said, his tone skeptical. "Let's hear it, then, but make it quick." Marcus nodded, maintaining his composure. He explained how he'd been driving home from a late-night tutoring session on June 20th, 2025, when an officer pulled him over on Flat Shoals Road. The officer claimed Marcus had failed to stop at a stop sign, but Marcus knew he'd stopped fully, as was his habit. He described the dashcam footage, which he submitted to the court in advance, and offered to walk the judge through the time-stamped video. Hargrove leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "You seem pretty confident, Mr. Thompson," he said, a faint smirk playing on his lips. "You think you're smarter than the officer who wrote this ticket?" Marcus kept his voice even. "I'm not saying I'm smarter than anyone, Your Honor. I'm saying the evidence shows I didn't commit the violation." The judge's smirk widened, and he glanced at the courtroom, where a few chuckles rippled through the audience. "Evidence, huh? You sound like you've got this all figured out. Tell you what, Mr. Thompson, let's make this interesting." Hargrove picked up a piece of paper from his bench, one that appeared to be a legal document written in a foreign language. "I've got something here I've been trying to get translated for weeks. If you can translate this on the spot, I'll dismiss your case and throw in my salary for the month. How's that sound?" The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Some spectators laughed, assuming the judge was joking. Others exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the mockery in Hargrove's tone. Marcus stood still, his face betraying no emotion, but his mind was racing. He recognized the challenge for what it was, a taunt meant to belittle him in front of the room. But Marcus wasn't one to back down. "Your Honor," Marcus said calmly, "I'd be happy to take a look at the document. May I see it?" Hargrove raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised by Marcus's response. He handed the paper to the bailiff, who passed it to Marcus. The document was a single page, filled with dense text in Arabic. Marcus scanned it quickly, his years of linguistic training kicking in. He recognized it as a legal contract, likely related to an international business dispute, given the terminology. The judge leaned forward, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Well, Mr. Thompson, don't keep us waiting. Translate it. Or are you just wasting my time?" Marcus took a deep breath, steadying himself. He knew the courtroom was watching, waiting for him to falter. But he also knew his skills, honed over decades of study and practice, were more than up to the task. He began to read aloud, translating the Arabic text into clear, precise English. The document is a contract between two parties, dated March 15th, 2024, Marcus said. It outlines the terms of a joint venture for the development of a commercial property in Dubai. The first party, Al Hassan Enterprises, agrees to provide funding up to 20 million dirhams, while the second party, a construction firm called Gulf Horizon, is responsible for project management and labor. The contract specifies a timeline of 18 months for completion, with penalties for delays exceeding 90 days. The courtroom fell silent. Hargrove's smirk faded as Marcus continued, his voice steady and authoritative. He translated clause after clause, explaining complex legal terms in plain language, including provisions about dispute resolution, liability, and profit sharing. He didn't stumble once, his fluency in Arabic evident in every word. When he finished, Marcus handed the document back to the bailiff. "That's the gist of it, Your Honor," he said. "If you like, I could provide a written translation or clarify any specific sections." Hargrove stared at Marcus, his expression a mix of disbelief and irritation. The courtroom was still quiet, the weight of the moment sinking in. The judge had clearly underestimated Marcus, assuming he'd falter or embarrass himself. Instead, Marcus had turned the challenge into a display of intellect and poise. The prosecutor, a young woman named Sarah Patel, spoke up. "Your Honor, I can confirm that Mr. Thompson's translation aligns with the official version we received from professional service last week. It's accurate." Hargrove cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably in his seat. "Well, Mr. Thompson," he said, his tone noticeably softer, "that's impressive. But we're here to talk about your traffic violation, not your language skills." Marcus nodded, unfazed. "I understand, Your Honor, but I'd like to return to my original point, the dashcam footage. It shows I made a complete stop. I'd like the court to review it and dismiss the citation." Hargrove hesitated, then motioned for the court clerk to play the footage. The video, displayed on a monitor for the courtroom to see, showed Marcus's car coming to a full stop at the intersection, holding for 3 seconds before proceeding. The evidence was undeniable. The judge leaned back, his face unreadable. "Based on the footage, it appears the citation was issued in error," he said. "The case is dismissed." A murmur of approval rippled through the courtroom. Marcus nodded, his expression calm but resolute. "Thank you, Your Honor," he said. "I appreciate the court's time." But Marcus wasn't done. He took a step forward, his voice clear and measured. "Your Honor, if I may, I'd like to address the earlier challenge. You offered to dismiss my case and give me your salary if I could translate the document. I've done that. I don't want your salary, but I do want to make a point. Assumptions about people, about their abilities, their background, or their worth, can lead to mistakes. I hope this court will consider that in the future." The room went silent again. Hargrove's face reddened, but he didn't respond immediately. The spectators, attorneys, and even the bailiffs seemed to hold their breath. Marcus's words weren't just a rebuke. They were a call for accountability, delivered with the kind of quiet power that demanded respect. Finally, Hargrove spoke. "Noted, Mr. Thompson," he said curtly. "You're free to go." Marcus gathered his papers and walked out of the courtroom, his head held high. As he stepped into the hallway, several people approached him, including a young attorney who had been watching from the back. "That was incredible," she said. "You didn't just win your case, you changed the room." Word of the incident spread quickly. By that evening, a local news outlet had picked up the story, and a clip of Marcus's exchange with the judge, recorded by a courtroom observer, was circulating on social media. The hashtag Marcus Speaks began trending, with thousands sharing their own stories of being underestimated or stereotyped. Community leaders praised Marcus for his composure and intellect, while activists called for greater scrutiny of judicial conduct. Marcus, however, remained focused on his work. He returned to his nonprofit, where he continued teaching kids the power of language as a tool for empowerment. But the courtroom moment stayed with him. He began speaking at community forums, sharing his story to inspire others to stand up against bias. He didn't see himself as a hero, just a man who refused to let a moment of disrespect define him. The judge faced his own reckoning. Hargrove's flippant remark drew criticism from legal scholars and civil rights groups, who argued it reflected deeper issues of bias in the justice system. The Fulton County Superior Court issued a statement acknowledging the incident and promising to review its protocols for courtroom conduct. Hargrove himself issued a public apology, admitting his comment was inappropriate and pledging to undergo sensitivity training. For Marcus, the apology was a start, but not enough. He knew change required more than words. It required action. He began working with local organizations to advocate for bias training for judges and court staff, emphasizing the need for fairness and respect in every interaction. His story became a rallying cry, a reminder that one person's voice, armed with knowledge and conviction, could challenge a system and inspire a movement. The courtroom that day wasn't just a setting for a dismissed traffic ticket. It was the stage for a moment of truth. Marcus Thompson, a black man underestimated by a judge, had turned a taunt into a triumph, proving that intellect, dignity, and resilience could shift the narrative in ways no one could have predicted.